The problem you're facing right now, it feels like the only thing that exists. That weight in your chest, the thought you can't get away from, it takes over everything. But what if you could make that feeling smaller, see its actual size, and do it quickly, not by looking away from it, but by looking at it from somewhere else entirely? There's an old Stoic technique for this, called the view from above. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius used it to keep his own mind steady. He wrote in his personal notes to think of the universal substance, where you only have a tiny piece, and of universal time, where you only get a brief, single moment. He was practicing how to see his own life from a place way up high, a cosmic view, so by the time we finish, you'll know how to make that perspective shift yourself, to shrink anxiety down and look at your problems with clarity, with calm. We'll see how just changing where your mind looks can turn a crushing stress into something you can actually see the edges of, and how doing this ties you into something bigger, something far more solid. So first, what's the one worry that seems biggest to you right now? The view from above is a change in vantage point. You pull your consciousness back and up to see your whole life from a cosmic distance. It's not about saying your troubles don't matter. It's about seeing their proportion set against everything else. The Stoics called this living in accordance with nature. It meant understanding your small place in a vast system. To see the bigger picture was to find peace inside it. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this. He'd remind himself to look down from above on the gatherings, the voyages, the conflicts, to see how his mind for that higher view, to shrink the forum's noise to a whisper against the stars. It's like standing in a city intersection at rush hour. All you get is chaos, the horns, the crowds, the feeling of being trapped in the noise. That's anxiety up close. But if you rise above it to a satellite view, that same intersection becomes a quiet part of a grid. The movement is still there, but it has a pattern, it has boundaries, it's contained. The exercise asks you to make that shift internally, so take that one worry. The argument that feels world-ending, the mistake that seems career-defining, the financial pressure that feels endless, now pull your perspective back. Not to next week, but to a distance of 100 years. How does it look from there? Its edges get clearer. Its true size against a lifetime, against the flow of history, starts to show. The distance doesn't erase the problem. It gives you space to see it for what it actually is, not what your fear says it is. Making your sense of self smaller expands your mind. It seems backwards, but that's the Stoic foundation for the view from above. They had two ideas. The first is Oikeiosis, a Greek word. It means appropriation or connection. We naturally grow from caring for ourselves to seeing our ties to others, to our community, to all of humanity. The second idea is cosmopolitanism. The Stoics saw themselves as citizens of the world. The entire cosmos was a single city. Every person in it was a fellow citizen. So to see from above, you don't start by looking down. You start by recognizing your place within. The philosopher Hierocles described this with concentric circles. The self is a small circle at the center. Around it, a circle for immediate family. Then extended family, then local community, then your country, then the outermost circle for all of humanity. The practice is to draw those outer circles inward, to bring distant concerns closer. But for this exercise, we first need to see which circle we're standing in. When a problem consumes you, you're trapped in that innermost circle. Everything is viewed from the perspective of the self. An argument feels like a personal attack. A financial worry feels like a unique burden. You're like a single cell in a vast body, experiencing its own stress, unaware that its health depends on the whole organism's state. The cell's concerns are real, but its perspective is microscopic. Marcus Aurelius captured the larger view. He wrote, "What injures the hive injures the bee." your struggle is not isolated. It exists within a network, a context. So before we pull the camera back to a cosmic view, take a moment. Identify which circle you are viewing your current problem from. Are you seeing it only from the circle of self, where it looms largest? Or can you feel its connection to the circle of your family, your community, the shared experiences of humanity? Recognizing this is the first step in loosening the problem's grip, because you begin to see it not as a solitary burden, but as part of a shared human condition. This shift in belonging is what makes the vertical lift possible. The view from above, the exercise starts in your mind. It's about pausing. Before you look down from a height, you have to step out of the story you're telling yourself right now. A problem is rarely just the event. It's the whole narrative you build around it, the meaning you give it, the chain of disasters you imagine. The Stoics called this the judgment. They said the event is one thing, your opinion about the event is another, and that opinion is what causes most of your distress. Epictetus drew a famous line. The dichotomy of control. Some things are up to us, our opinions, our impulses, our desires, our judgments. Everything else is not up to us, our body, our property, our reputation. He said we suffer when we confuse the two, when we try to control what isn't up to us or neglect what is. The event is often not up to us, but the story we tell about it, that belongs entirely to us. Take a critical email from your boss. The event is simple, words on a screen. The narrative you might build is vast. I'm failing, they're disappointed. This could cost me my promotion. Everyone will find out. That narrative is a story of meaning and consequence you're writing in real time. And it's that story that tightens your chest, not the pixels of the email. The view from above asks you to separate these two things, to see the bare event and then see the elaborate theater you built on top of it. That's the mental pause. The moment you stop reacting to the story and instead observe that you're the one telling it, so bring that one problem to mind again, not the feeling it creates but the factual core. What is the actual event? Maybe it's a single conversation that didn't go well, or a number in your bank account, or a piece of news you received. Now, beside it, write down or just acknowledge the story. What does this event mean to you? What do you fear it might lead to? This act of naming, of separating the event from the judgment, is like turning on a light in a room where you've been watching a scary movie. The shadows shrink, the shapes become ordinary objects, and you regain the understanding that you are the viewer, not a character trapped inside the film. That clarity is the essential ground, the place from which you can then lift your perspective upward. Picture the room you're in, the walls, the furniture. Then let the walls dissolve. See the building you're in, a house, an apartment, whatever it is. See its shape from outside. Now pull back. See your street, the other buildings, the roads. Your neighborhood from a few hundred feet up, the roofs and trees. That's how you start. Marcus Aurelius did this with the Roman Forum. He'd rise above it in his mind. Watch the tiny figures below. Their debates would fade to a murmur. He wrote that from that height you could see the whole earth, just a point in space, and the emptiness around it. He was training his perception, shrinking the noise to find the signal of his own choice. So keep climbing. Let your neighborhood shrink into a patch of the city. See the city's outline against the land, the rivers or roads. Pull back further. See your country, its shape on a map. See the continent it sits on. Now see the planet. That blue and white marble in the black silence. No borders from here, only the shared home of everyone you've ever known and everyone you never will. Pause there. What's the first feeling? Your own smallness, maybe a quieting, or maybe a sense of connection. Your life as part of this single, fragile world. For a lot of people, it's a deep calm, the stillness from seeing the bigger picture. There's no right answer, just notice. That vantage point is yours now. You've made the space, and in that space, the problem you brought with you, it's already started to change. It hasn't disappeared, but from here you can finally see its true coordinates. You can see it not as the center of everything, but as one event, in one place, at one point in a vast, flowing timeline. That's the power of the view you just built. It's a platform for clarity, and from this platform we can do the most revealing part. From this new height, your problem isn't just an isolated thing anymore. It's a single thread, and you can see it now inside a much larger tapestry. That tapestry is your whole life. It has threads from the past, joys, quiet moments, lessons, old sorrows that have already softened. And it has threads from the future, hopes and plans that aren't woven in yet. And then there are the threads of other lives, all intersecting with yours, each person carrying their own pattern of challenges and triumphs. So the problem that felt like the whole picture, it's just one color, one strand in this vast, ongoing work. Seeing that context is what reduces its weight. It doesn't pull the thread out, it shows you how the tapestry continues around it, how the overall design is still strong, still beautiful, and far from finished. Seneca wrote about the shortness of life, but from this view, that idea shifts. It's not that life is too brief to matter, it's that our troubles are brief episodes inside it. Seneca said to measure life by what we truly live, not just by time passing. From above, you get to do that measurement. You see this current struggle, no matter how intense, occupies a finite segment of your timeline. It has a beginning and it will have an end, the rest of the tapestry, the parts woven before and the blank canvas waiting after, they're untouched, full of potential. That perspective shrinks the episode down to its true duration. To make it practical, visualize your specific worry as a single scene in a long movie of your life. It might be a tense scene, a sad scene, a confusing one, but the movie keeps rolling. The characters, the other parts of you, your resilience, your curiosity, your capacity for joy, they're still there. Ready for the next scene, the plot continues. The problem is not the finale. It's a moment of conflict the story will move through. That's how you reclaim authorship. You're not just an actor stuck in a difficult scene. You're also the viewer who can see the whole narrative arc, and the writer who knows there are more pages to come. So from that quiet vantage point, try this. Mentally list 3 other important aspects of your life that remain completely unchanged by this problem. Maybe it's your deep care for a family member. Maybe it's a skill you've spent years building. Maybe it's the simple fact that you can still find beauty in a sunset or laughter in an old joke. Those are the strong, unchanging threads in your tapestry. By focusing on them, even for a moment, you actively reweave your attention. You remind your mind that the problem's thread, while present, doesn't define the whole cloth. That act grounds the philosophical view in a tangible feeling of stability. It proves to you from the inside that you are far more vast than any single challenge you face. In 1990, Voyager 1 was done with its mission. It turned its camera back toward Earth. From 3.7 billion miles away, it took a picture. And Earth was just a pale blue dot, a tiny speck in a sunbeam. That's everything, all of us, every person, every empire, every joy and every heartbreak. All in that one little pixel, against the dark. Carl Sagan looked at that picture. He said every hero and every saint was there, every king and peasant. Every couple in love, every child, everyone who ever built something or tore it down. Their whole lives happened on that speck of dust. That's the view from the farthest distance. It doesn't make our lives smaller, it changes the frame, it shrinks the ego. The part that thinks our own story is the main story. When you look at your problem from that far away, something shifts. The anxiety, the thing that felt so personal, it starts to loosen, not because the problem doesn't matter, but because you see it against a backdrop that's so huge. It can't fill your whole mind anymore. You're part of something vast, really vast. Marcus Aurelius tried to get to this. He'd look at the stars, the movement of the sky. He'd remind himself his own mind was a piece of that universal mind. He wrote about considering how everything is connected, all things in the universe and how they relate. From up there, it's harmony, it's silent motion, not the noise of our conflicts down here. Astronauts feel this shift in their bodies. They call it the overview effect. Looking down at Earth from orbit, the borders disappear. The atmosphere is just a thin layer. All the conflicts that seem so urgent on the ground from that height, you see them for what they are. Limited, temporary, human, the perspective doesn't bring emptiness. It brings a sense of unity, a deep peace. Their own problems, their nationalities, their personal worries, it all gets absorbed into the awe of seeing the whole thing. They come back different. They've seen the bigger picture. So take your specific worry, bring it to that scale. If some observer on a world in another galaxy could see your life, what would they think of this problem? Would it look like a cosmic disaster to them, or would it just be a momentary ripple in the life of one organism on a beautiful, distant world? The answer brings a kind of humility. A gentle one. It lets you hold your concern more lightly, not because it's unimportant to you, but because you're aware of the stage now, the immense stage it's happening on. That's the final step of this. You trade the tight focus of anxiety, the one that suffocates, for the wide focus of awe, the one that expands, and in that space of awe you find a calm strength. The kind you didn't have when you were just standing in the street, hearing nothing but the horns. The goal isn't to feel nothing, it's to feel the right thing. The Stoics had a word for that, apatheia. It's a freedom from the destructive passions, from the fear that just stops you, the anger that makes everything cloudy. The anxiety that turns everything into an emergency, and it's not indifference, it's really the opposite. It's a clear, calm way of engaging with reality. One that isn't shaken by your own reactions. So you're in a traffic jam, horns are blaring, time is slipping away, your body floods with stress. That feeling, that's a passion in the Stoic sense. It's chaotic, it's overwhelming, it hijacks your reason, but if you could see that same jam from a hilltop, you'd just see a pattern of red lights, part of a flowing system. And the feeling changes. You observe it, you understand what caused it, you might even see a strange kind of order in it. The event is the same, but the emotion is transformed. That shift from chaotic passion to a reasoned calm, that's the emotional result of the view from above. Epictetus said it plainly. He said people are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them. The traffic jam doesn't create your panic. Your view of the jam does. The story you tell yourself, that you're trapped, that you'll be late, that this ruins everything. That story creates the panic. The view from above dismantles that story. It gives you a new view, not the view from inside the car where the problem is everything, but the view from the hill where you see its place in a larger flow. That new view creates space for apatheia, for that calm, untroubled state where you can see clearly. And act wisely. Think of a past upset, something that once felt enormous, a disagreement that left you seething for days, a professional setback that felt like a permanent mark. From where you are now, how does it look? The raw emotion has probably softened. You can see the context around it. You might even see how your own story amplified the pain. That's the gift of hindsight. The view from above is an attempt to get that hindsight now, to borrow the calm clarity of your future self and use it to navigate the storm of this moment. It asks, what story am I telling myself that's causing this distress? And from a higher perspective, is that story the only one possible? That's the practical magic of it. It doesn't delete the problem, it de-escalates your nervous system's response to it. The problem becomes a situation to be understood, to be managed. Rather than a threat to be feared, your energy isn't consumed by the internal weather, the panic, the anger. That energy is freed up for clear thought, for deliberate action, or sometimes just for acceptance. You move from being a reactor, buffeted by every emotional wave, to being an observer, someone who can see the wave's shape, its size, and know that it too will pass. That's the tranquility the Stoics sought. Not a life without feeling, but a life where feelings inform you. Instead of controlling you, Many problems feel huge because the ego inflates them. It takes an event and makes it a referendum on you, your worth, your place in the world. The view from above is the perfect antidote. It shrinks the ego not by attacking it, but by expanding the stage so dramatically that the ego can't remain the star of the show. You see your life as one thread in a vast tapestry, and suddenly that critical comment, that professional slight, it loses its personal sting. It becomes an event in a system, not a verdict on your soul. Marcus Aurelius practiced this constantly. He'd remind himself that when people act poorly, it's rarely about him. He wrote that when another blames you or hates you, you should go to their souls. Penetrate inside, see what sort of people they are. You realize there's no need to be racked with anxiety over their opinion of you. He was training himself to see behavior impersonally, to understand that a person's action flows from their own nature, their own wounds, their own limited perspective. It's not a spotlight on your flaws. It's a window into theirs. From the cosmic view, you see this with startling clarity. That person who was rude to you in line, they're carrying their own invisible weight. Their reaction is about the traffic they sat in, the worry they're holding about a sick parent, the frustration they feel about their own life. Your presence was merely the trigger for a reaction that was already loaded and ready. It was never really about you. This is incredibly freeing. It allows you to stop personalizing the friction of daily life. Think of a social media slight, a dismissive remark from a colleague. From ground level, it feels like a direct attack. Your ego rushes in to defend its territory. But from above, you see billions of people, each with their own swirling storm of thoughts and emotions. You see trillions of interactions happening every day. That one remark is a single data point in an ocean of human noise. It's not a defining moment. It's a statistical inevitability. Someone was bound to say something unkind today. It just happened to be in your direction. This isn't cynicism, it's realism. It allows you to let the remark pass through you, like a leaf on a river, instead of building a dam to stop it. So try this now. Identify one situation where you're personalizing an event, where you're telling yourself a story that centers you as the cause or the target. Maybe it's a friend who didn't text back, a family member who misunderstood you, a stranger who gave you a look. Now practice seeing it as an impersonal occurrence. Pull your perspective up to that cosmic view. See the two of you as tiny points of light on the pale blue dot. Each of you is a complex universe of history, mood, and circumstance. Your paths intersected, an exchange of energy happened, and then your paths continued. The meaning you gave that exchange, the story of rejection or judgment, that was your creation. From this height, you can choose to let that story go. You can see the event for what it is, a brief, neutral intersection in the grand flow of human traffic. This doesn't mean you excuse unkindness. It means you stop letting it define your inner weather. You reclaim the space inside yourself that your ego had handed over to someone else's momentary state. And in that reclaimed space, you find a quiet, unshakable peace. You've pulled back in space, but there's also time. The other half is time, a flowing river of it. This is the view across time. It asks you to see your current moment not as a point on a map, but as a single note. A note in a symphony that began long before you and will continue long after. Picture a timeline, not of your life but of human history. Stretch it back, see the generations before, millions of lives, each with their own loves and losses, triumphs and quiet struggles. They faced plagues, they built cities, they raised families and wondered about their place in the world just as you do. Their worries felt immense to them too. Now pull that timeline forward. See the generations yet to come. They'll have their own versions of your anxiety, their own heartbreaks and joys that haven't even been imagined yet. Your entire existence is a brief flash on this endless line, a single heartbeat in the life of humanity. Seneca wrote about this. He said to set a wider boundary for your thoughts. Let them travel into the whole of time, consider the universe, look upon human affairs as from a far-off place. From there, you can see how many cities have fallen. How many great events are now just stories. Your own troubles seen from that distance shrink. They shrink to their true proportion. They become part of the human condition, not a unique catastrophe. Marcus Aurelius returned to this idea. He'd remind himself that the longest lived and the earliest to die lose the same thing. The present is all anyone can lose, since that's all you have. He was drilling into the fleeting nature of our moment. He wrote to think of the universal substance as if from a cliff, and of the countless dramas and rituals being performed in the same setting. All of it temporary, all of it passing. So take that problem you're holding, that stressful day, that financial pressure, that relationship strain. Now see it as a single grain of sand. On a long, long beach, the beach is your entire life with all its experiences. That one grain is important. You can feel its texture, but it does not define the beach. The vast expanse of sand around it, the waves that have come and gone, the footprints made and washed away, that is the larger truth. The beach remains serene and enduring regardless of that one grain. This is where you ask the clarifying questions. Will this problem matter in 5 years? Be honest. Often the answer is no. The sharp edge of today's emergency will have dulled into a memory, a lesson learned, or a forgotten detail. Now go further. Look at it from the perspective of your 90-year-old self, sitting in a chair, looking back on the long arc of your life. What would that wise, experienced version of you say about this current worry? Would they nod with understanding, maybe with a gentle smile, knowing how it all turned out? Would they tell you this was merely a bend in the river, not its end? This temporal view doesn't belittle your present experience. It ennobles it by placing it in a grander story. Your struggle is part of the human story. It connects you to every person who has ever faced a fear, endured a hardship, or wondered if they were strong enough. That connection is a source of strength. It means you are not alone in this feeling. You are participating in something ancient and universal. And from that participation, you can draw a deep, quiet courage. The kind that knows this too is a scene in your movie, and the credits are nowhere near rolling. You don't need a cushion. You can do this in line at the store or right before a hard talk. The power isn't in a long session, it's in a short reset, a 10-second look from above. When you feel that spike of irritation, that's the cue. Instead of going deeper into the feeling, you pull back for a moment. You do a quick mental zoom out, see the room from above, see the building, see yourself as a small part of a much bigger day, a bigger world. That tiny shift creates just enough space between you and the reaction. It lets you choose your response instead of being taken over by it. The Stoics built this into their routine. They'd prepare in the morning. Before the day started, they'd set an intention. Marcus Aurelius wrote his notes at dawn. He'd remind himself about the people he'd meet, the busy ones, the ungrateful, the arrogant. He prepared to see them not as personal enemies, but as people acting from their own nature. He was putting on the lens of the higher view before he even went outside, priming his mind to see the day from that calmer, more detached place. You can do a small version of this in real time. Picture a practical moment. You're about to walk into a stressful meeting. Your heart is already racing. In the 10 seconds before you open the door, you take the view. You see the office building from the sky. You see the city. You remember this meeting, however important, is one event in the long flow of your career and your life. The intensity dials down a notch. You enter with more presence, less panic, or you get some bad news. A project is cancelled, plans fall through, the first wave of disappointment hits. In that wave, you pause, you take your 10-second view. You see this news not as the end of the story, but as a plot twist in a much longer narrative. You see yourself from a distance getting this information, and you know you've handled plot twists before. This creates a buffer. It doesn't erase the disappointment, but it keeps it from flooding your whole mind. Even in the middle of an argument, when emotions are high, you can use it. Feel yourself getting heated. Your view has narrowed to just the other person's face and your own rising anger. For 10 seconds, you pull the camera back in your mind. You see the two of you in the room. You see the house. You see the neighborhood. You remember this disagreement, however passionate, is a single conversation in the history of your relationship. That spatial distance often creates emotional distance. It lets you speak from principle, not just from reaction. The goal is frequency, not duration. It's about weaving this perspective into the fabric of your day, making it a reflex. So here's a challenge. Sometime in the next 24 hours, when you feel that sudden spike of irritation, maybe in traffic, maybe from a short message, maybe from a small frustration, try it. Just once, give yourself those 10 seconds, zoom out, see the bigger picture, and notice what happens to the size of that feeling. Does it still feel like a mountain? Or does it start to look more like a molehill you can just walk around? That small experiment is where philosophy stops being theory and starts becoming a tool you actually own. Our minds tend to imagine the worst possible outcome and then treat it as inevitable. That's catastrophizing. You get one piece of bad news and your inner storyteller just runs with it. It spins this tale of total collapse. A missed deadline means you'll be fired. A disagreement means the friendship is over. A small pain, it must be a terminal illness. The story feels so real your body reacts, your heart races, your stomach knots, but from the view from above, you see the whole process. That catastrophic fantasy is just one thread, pulled from a tapestry of millions of other possible futures, most of which never happen. From that height, you see the story's true scale. It's not the only story. It's just the loudest one, the most frightening one your mind could grab in a moment of uncertainty. Stoic wisdom offers a counter to this. Seneca wrote about the premeditation of evils. Premeditatio malorum. The idea wasn't to dwell on fear, but to disarm it. By calmly considering what could go wrong, you realize two things. First, that you can probably endure it. And second, that the thing you're picturing is almost always worse in your anticipation than in reality. He said we suffer more in imagination than in reality. The catastrophic story is a magnifying glass. It takes a small, manageable event and blows it up until it blocks out the entire sun. The view from above removes that magnifying glass. It restores the event to its actual size. Take the anxiety before a big job interview. At ground level, it feels like a verdict on your entire career, your capability, your future. The catastrophic story whispers that if you stumble over one answer, your chance is gone. You'll be stuck, a failure. Now take the view, see the city from above. See the thousands of offices, the millions of people working, having conversations. Your interview is one single conversation, in one room on one day among countless others. Your worth as a person is not contained in that 30-minute slot. It's woven into the entire tapestry of your skills, your experiences, your relationships. From above, you see that even the worst-case outcome, not getting the job, is not an end. It's a redirection, a single data point that leads to other doors. Other paths you couldn't yet see. The catastrophic story shrinks from a looming monster to a manageable possibility, one you can prepare for, but not one you need to be terrified of. So here's a practical way to make this shift. Take a moment and write down a catastrophic thought you've had, just a sentence. If this project fails, my reputation is ruined. Or if I say the wrong thing, they'll never speak to me again. Now take the view from above. Rewrite that same thought from that new perspective. See the event as a small part of a vast, ongoing life. Your rewritten version might sound like, this project is one of many I will undertake. Its outcome is a single event. It does not define my entire professional history. Or this conversation is one moment in a long relationship. A single misunderstanding is unlikely to erase a foundation of shared history. This simple act of rewriting moves the thought from the realm of emotional reaction to the realm of observation. It proves the story is not fixed. You are the author, and you can choose a narrative that is both truthful and empowering. Looking down from space, it's strange. It can make you more thankful for the ground. You see all that emptiness, how rare a living planet is, that thin blue line of atmosphere. And something changes. You realize the baseline of your life isn't a given. It's an astronomical stroke of luck that you're here, breathing air on a stable planet, surrounded by life and human connection. That's a kind of miracle. The view from above doesn't just shrink your problems, it magnifies your blessings. Against the vast, cold silence of space, the warmth and safety of an ordinary life suddenly stand out. Marcus Aurelius started his days like this. Before facing the empire's burdens, he'd list what he was grateful for. He often began with the universe itself. He'd write, "When you wake up, think what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." He was priming his mind with gratitude before complaint could take over. He saw his life as a gift from universal nature. That perspective made every duty, every irritation easier to carry. He used the cosmic view to fuel a grounded thankfulness. That's the beautiful loop. You zoom out to see your smallness, and in that smallness, you find the profound value of everything you have. Think of it this way. If you spent your whole life in a warm, beautiful house, you might only notice the dust on the shelves, the scratch on the floor. But if you were taken outside first into a freezing, howling storm, and then brought back in, that same house would feel like a sanctuary. The view from above is that trip into the storm. It shows you the cosmic weather outside, and when you return your attention to your life, the ordinary warmth feels extraordinary. So try this now. After one of those mental flights, after seeing the pale blue dot and feeling the silence, bring your attention all the way back, gently. Notice the simple warmth of a cup in your hands, the solidity of the chair beneath you, the sound of life outside your window, even if it's just distant traffic or birdsong. These aren't small things. They're the specific, tangible manifestations of that cosmic luck. The universe is mostly a vacuum, and yet here you are where hot water exists, where comfort is possible, where community hums along. This shift from the abstract to the specific is where gratitude becomes real. It moves from a concept to a feeling in your body. So take a quiet moment right where you are. After your visualization, look around. Mentally note 3 things in your immediate environment you can be grateful for. It could be the device letting you hear these words, the roof that keeps the sky at a distance, a photograph of someone you love. Don't just list them, pause on each one. Acknowledge that it's here and that its presence contributes to the safety and richness of this moment. This practice does something powerful. It rewires your attention. Your mind, which is so good at scanning for threats and problems, gets a new assignment. To scan for gifts, for the infrastructure of goodness that's already present. And when you do this from the platform of the cosmic view, the gratitude isn't shallow or forced. It's a deep, humbling recognition. You realize your problem, however real, is sitting on a foundation of 1,000 things that are going right. That foundation doesn't make the problem disappear, but it gives you a solid place to stand while you face it. You're not a victim adrift in a hostile universe. You're a fortunate participant in a rare and precious world, dealing with a difficulty, and that changes everything. When you're in a disagreement, it can help to step back, to look at it from somewhere higher up, not from your side or theirs, but from a point that sees the whole room. The whole building, all the circumstances that led you both here. That's where this becomes a tool for peace. It stops being a personal battle. It becomes a shared human condition. You're not looking at an opponent anymore. You're seeing another person, a whole universe of history and hurt and hope, just like you. The Stoics had a belief about why people act poorly. They called it ignorance, not stupidity, a lack of understanding about what's truly good. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of this. He wrote that when people do wrong, it's because they don't know any better. They mistake what's harmful for what's good. To be angry with them, he said, is as pointless as being angry with a stone for falling. The stone acts according to its nature. The person acts according to their flawed perception. This isn't about excusing cruelty. It's about understanding its source. From that higher view, you can see that source. You see a person shaped by their own past, by their fears, by the limits of their own vision. Their action toward you is a symptom of their inner world, not a final verdict on yours. So take a current disagreement, a tense standoff with a colleague over a project's direction. From ground level, it's a clash of egos. You're right, they're wrong, they're being difficult, stubborn, maybe even undermining you. Your story casts them as the antagonist. Now take the view. Rise up mentally until you see your whole office floor. See the two of you at your desks, then pull back further. See the building, see the city. From here, you're not just two people in a conflict. You're two cogs in an immense, complex machine. Each of you is under pressure from other parts of the machine, your own managers, your personal deadlines. Your private worries about job security or recognition. The friction between you isn't a moral failure, it's a mechanical event, an inevitable point of stress where two moving parts, each carrying their own load, happen to meet. To make this real, try a brief visualization. Think of the person you're in conflict with, but don't think about your last interaction. Instead, try to visualize a typical day from their perspective. From the moment they wake up, what private concerns might they carry into the office? A sick parent they're caring for, a financial pressure they haven't shared, a deep-seated insecurity about their own competence that makes them defensive. You don't need to know the facts, you just need to acknowledge the high probability that their inner world is as complex and burdened as your own. Their sharp email or dismissive comment likely flowed from that private river of stress, long before it ever reached you. From the height of this understanding, blame begins to dissolve. It's replaced by a clearer, more sober sight. You see two finite, flawed humans, both trying to navigate their own challenges, both acting from their own mix of good intentions and blind spots. The conflict isn't a war between good and evil. It's a misalignment of perspectives, a collision of two different stories about what should happen, and from above, you can see the possibility of a third story. One that includes both your needs and acknowledges both your pressures. This shift doesn't mean you roll over. It means you engage with clarity, not with heat. You can address the issue without attacking the person because you see the person now, in their full humanity, not as a caricature of opposition. You might even feel a thread of compassion, not pity, a recognition of shared struggle. And in that space, solutions become possible, solutions that were invisible from the trenches of your own righteous anger. The problem stops being about them, it starts being about it. The situation you both, as fellow citizens in this cosmic city, now have the chance to resolve. From the ground, what we achieve can feel like the top of a mountain. The title, the company, the recognition. But from 10,000 feet up, those things become part of the landscape. They're beautiful features, but the mountain itself is something else. The mountain is the character you built doing it, the integrity you kept, the lives you touched along the climb. This view from above, it doesn't shrink ambition, it reframes it. You pursue goals not as your ultimate worth, but as an expression of your participation. And that keeps drive from curdling into obsession. It stops success from becoming an idol that, when it falls, takes your whole self down with it. Marcus Aurelius wrestled with this. He was the most powerful man in his world. He'd write about the fleeting nature of fame. He'd list the emperors before him, all gone now, their tombs just historical sites. He noted how quickly we're forgotten. The eulogies fade, the monuments wear away, new names take their place. He wasn't being morbid, it was a sobering realism. A reminder, the applause of the forum, the cheers of the crowd, a temporary sound in an eternal silence. His real work wasn't in being remembered, it was in being just. Being temperate, doing the work the universe gave him to do, and doing it well without being attached to the fanfare. That perspective is a gift for anyone striving now. Picture the view from a skyscraper down on a financial district at lunch. From the street, every person is a story of intense focus, a deal to close, a call to make, a ladder to climb. The energy is frantic, but from that high window, the individual strivings merge. They become a flowing pattern, a collective hum. No single urgent meeting is visible. The drama of a promotion or a lost client dissolves into the larger motion of the city at work. That's the view for ambition. It lets you be fully in your meeting, giving it your focus, while a part of you remembers it's one meeting in a city of millions. That dual awareness is the balance, the humility that makes drive sustainable. You can work passionately without your happiness being held hostage by the outcome. So take your biggest current goal, the project you're pouring your soul into, the milestone you're desperate to reach. Now apply the view across time. Ask a simple question. If you achieved this, how would it look to your great-grandchildren? They might know a story about you, that you worked hard, that you cared deeply about your craft or your family. But the specific title, the exact dollar figure, the particular award, those details will likely be lost to time, softened into the broader legacy of who you were and what you stood for. That isn't discouraging, it's liberating. It shifts your focus from the trophy to the texture of the effort itself, to find the value in the climb, in the skills you gain. The person you become, the small good you do along the way, not just the moment you plant your flag at the peak. This framing turns ambition from a desperate need to prove something into a calm, steady offering of your best efforts to the world. You work for the work's own sake, for the service it provides, for the growth it demands of you. The external result, the success or failure, is then received with equanimity. As information, not as identity, you remain the person looking down from the skyscraper, observing the pattern of your own life within the grand, ever-changing tapestry. Your drive remains, but it's in check, guided by a wisdom that knows no single achievement is the final measure of a life. Physical suffering can take over everything. It fills your world. You focus on the ache, the tiredness, the limit. Everything else, your plans, your relationships, who you are, it all shrinks behind that one demanding feeling. But there's another way to look at it, from above. It asks you to see the body not as your whole self, but as a vessel, a temporary one, a small part of the natural world that's meant to change. Epictetus, the Stoic, he knew this. He was lame from a young age, and he taught that our real power is how we use our impressions. He drew a line between the physical thing, the pain, the sickness, and our judgment about it. The judgment that says this is unbearable, that this ruins everything, that this is who I am. He said the body isn't really ours, it's on loan from nature. We're its caretaker, not its owner. Our true self is our capacity to choose our attitude toward whatever happens to that body. That creates a space. A mental space. It lets you observe the pain from a place of awareness, instead of being completely lost in it. Think of your body as a landscape, a living terrain of hills and valleys. And the pain or the illness is like a weather system moving through, a storm of sensation. It can be intense, it can be disruptive, but from the sky's perspective, the storm isn't the landscape. It's a phenomenon passing over it. The sky, vast and calm, observes the storm without being destroyed by it. Your awareness can be that sky. So if you're dealing with discomfort, try this. Gently close your eyes if you want. Bring your attention to the exact location of the sensation. Don't fight it, just notice it. Then, in your mind, begin to expand the space around it. See that point of discomfort as a single, tiny point, and then see the immense, open space of your own consciousness that surrounds it. That space isn't in pain. That space is simply aware. It can hold the sensation without becoming the sensation. You are not just the storm in the landscape. You are also the sky that contains the landscape. This doesn't erase the physical reality. It changes your relationship to it. It moves you from resistance and despair to observation and endurance. You can acknowledge the hardship without letting it narrate your whole existence. From this height, you see your life as a whole, a life that contains this chapter of illness, yes, but it also contains memories of health, moments of joy, connections with others, the ongoing story of your mind. The suffering body becomes one thread in a much larger tapestry, a dark and difficult thread, but it doesn't cancel out the other colors. This might be the deepest use of the Stoic exercise. It teaches equanimity toward what we can't control. It helps you keep your dignity and your inner freedom, even when the body feels like a prison. You learn to tend to the vessel with compassion, while remembering you are so much more than its temporary aches, more than its eventual silence. Scrolling through curated lives can leave you feeling like your own is somehow lacking. That quiet sense that other people are living better lives, more exciting ones, it's a modern kind of anxiety. The view from above tackles this directly. From that cosmic distance, you aren't seeing highlight reels. You're seeing the sheer number of lives being lived all at once, billions of them, and each one is a complete universe. Private joys, quiet sorrows, mundane chores, secret worries. Your own path isn't the one right path. It's just one unique thread, and from that height, the idea of a single correct life to envy it just dissolves. You see the infinite branching of paths not taken in every direction. The life you're living isn't a deviation from some perfect script. It is the script being written in real time, right alongside an endless library of other stories. Seneca wrote about this envy in his letters. He called it a kind of madness. We torture ourselves, he said, by picturing the happiness of other people, but we're comparing our own behind-the-scenes reality to their carefully staged performance. His advice was to strip away the costume and the setting, to see the person underneath. You'd often find, he noted, a mind full of its own troubles, its own restless desires. No one's life is as polished as it looks from the outside. The glamour is just a surface. Beneath it, the universal human condition continues, with all its uncertainty, effort, fleeting peace. To make this practical, try visualizing social media from the view from above. Don't see the individual posts, see the network itself. From a great height, it becomes a buzzing, glowing web of signals crisscrossing the whole planet. Each glowing point is a person broadcasting a moment, a feeling, an idea. The web is beautiful in its complexity, but it's not a measure of life's value. It's a pattern of communication, a shared nervous system, and your own point in that web is both insignificant and utterly essential. You're one node among billions. Your value isn't determined by how brightly you glow compared to the node next to you. It's inherent in your connection to the whole, so you could try a brief reflection. Identify one thing you find yourself envying right now: a colleague's promotion, a friend's seemingly perfect vacation, an influencer's curated aesthetic. Now take that detached vantage point. Visualize that person's life not as a series of perfect squares, but as a continuous, unedited film. From above, see the whole landscape of their existence. The hours of work you didn't witness, the private anxieties they don't post about, the compromises, the tired evenings that are part of every human life. See their path as a thread parallel to yours, each with its own unique knots and snags. The envy often softens then. It turns into something else: recognition or even compassion. You realize you aren't missing out on a better life. You're just witnessing a different story with its own full spectrum of light and shadow. And your own story, viewed with that same compassionate detachment, It holds a depth, a dignity you were too close to see before. Sometimes the best practice is just to go somewhere high. There's a physical version of this mental exercise. You can close your eyes and picture the cosmos. Or you can stand on a real cliff edge, feel the wind, watch the horizon curve away. That sensory input, the sheer scale hitting your eyes, triggers the shift almost on its own. Your mind expands. The small worries you carried up the trail suddenly weigh less. They're blown away by all that air and sky. This is where philosophy meets the ground, or leaves it behind. The Stoics knew this link between outer vastness and inner peace. Seneca wrote about it. He described looking out from a high place over a broad sea. He said it calmed his spirit. It released a sense of constriction. He saw the view as a remedy for a cramped mind. The sight of something so much larger than himself put his own affairs into their proper, small proportion. He wasn't just admiring scenery, he was doing active therapy, using the physical world to retrain his perception. You can use this tool deliberately. You don't need the Alps, a local hilltop will do, a tall building with an observation deck, a wide, empty beach where the sea meets the sky in a clean line. Even a quiet park where you can lie on your back and look up at the night sky away from city lights. The key is intention. Go there not just to be outside, but to actively practice the view from above. Let the physical reality do half the work. As you stand there, engage the steps, but let the landscape guide you. Start by absorbing the literal view. Feel the space, then, in that expanded state, bring your specific concern to mind. Hold it out mentally. Place it against the backdrop of the mountains, or the ocean, or the sprawl of city lights below. Notice what happens. Does the problem feel as solid, as permanent, as all-consuming? Often, it can't keep its intensity in the face of such literal grandeur. The feeling of smallness isn't belittling, it's a relief. The relief of realizing your struggle is contained. It has edges, and you can see those edges from here. This practice makes the mental technique stronger. It gives your mind a reference point, a memory of a feeling. Later, when you're stuck in traffic or in a stressful meeting, you can recall the physical sensation of that high place. The chill of the wind, the smell of the air, the quiet. You can summon the vista in your mind's eye, and with it, a whisper of that expansive calm. The memory becomes a shortcut back to perspective. So here's a simple invitation. Sometime in the coming week, find one local high point or open space. It could be a water tower overlook, a fire tower trail, a parking garage rooftop at dusk, or a bench on a bluff. Go there with the single intention of practicing this perspective. Don't rush, just be there. Let the view work on you, and as you look out, ask yourself a quiet question. From this real height, what one thing about my current challenge looks different? The answer often isn't shouted, it's felt, a quiet knowing that settles in the new space the landscape has carved out inside you. Some problems aren't small. And this exercise, it's not a magic eraser. When you're facing a profound loss, the view from above changes. Its purpose isn't to minimize the pain. It's not to say you shouldn't feel it. Grief isn't a problem to solve, it's a testament. It means the love was real, and the goal here is to find a container, a place for that immense feeling inside the totality of existence. To make a space where grief can be held, where it can be honored, fully experienced, without it consuming your entire world. Marcus Aurelius faced this directly. He wrote about the death of people he loved. He'd remind himself to see it as a natural return. He said to think of the universal substance, like wax being molded. Now a horse, now a tree, now a human, and death is just the breaking up of what was molded. He wasn't being cold, he was practicing a radical acceptance. Accepting nature's cycle, the person was a temporary gathering, elements given the gift of consciousness for a time, and then returned to the source all things come from. This perspective doesn't erase the missing. It frames the relationship inside the laws of the cosmos itself. the love was real inside that temporary form. And the loss, that's the price of that reality. To apply this with care, you might visualize the long arc of the relationship. See it not just as its painful end, but as a complete story. From before you met, through all the shared moments, the quiet understandings, the growth you experienced together, to the parting, from a high enough vantage point, you can see that entire chapter as a whole. A beautiful, self-contained narrative inside the longer book of your life. The final page doesn't invalidate the chapters that came before. In fact, it gives the story its weight, its meaning, its completion. The grief you feel is the emotional signature of that story's importance. The view from above lets you hold the entire book in your hands. Not just be pressed against the final sentence. For anyone processing a loss, consider this gentle reflection. Visualize your loved one's life as a wave in the ocean. For a time it rises, it has a distinct shape, a beautiful curve, a force and a character all its own. It catches the light uniquely, it travels, and then, in its own time, it subsides. It returns to the whole, it doesn't disappear. The water that formed it is still there, part of the vast ocean. The wave's end was written into its beginning. Its beauty and its transience were inseparable. Your grief is the echo of that beautiful, unique shape that's no longer visible on the surface. But what formed it, the love, the essence, the shared experience, that remains part of the whole, part of you, part of the ongoing story of everything. This view creates a sacred space. It makes room for the tears without letting them become an ocean you drown in. It allows you to miss the specific wave while still feeling connected to the sea. From this height, you honor the loss by placing it within the grand, solemn, and beautiful procession of all life. You're not trying to feel less. You're trying to see more, to see the love within the laws of nature, the personal sorrow within the universal story. And in that wider seeing, you may find not an end to grief, but a foundation. A foundation strong enough to bear its weight. This is a tool for perspective. It's not an excuse for passivity, not an excuse to repress emotion. The view from above has a limit. It can be misused. A powerful technique, misunderstood, can become a kind of spiritual bypass, a way to leap over genuine human feelings, over necessary duties. All in the name of a detached, cosmic view. The Stoics never intended that. Their philosophy was a call to engaged action, virtuous action in the world. It wasn't a retreat. They wanted to clear the emotional fog so they could see the path of duty more clearly, not to declare the path didn't matter. The Stoic emphasis was always on what is up to us. Our judgments, our choices, our actions. Epictetus drew that line. He said, after we understand what is not in our power, we turn our full effort toward what is. Shrinking a problem's emotional weight isn't the end goal. It's the preparation. It's meant to free up your energy, your clarity, your courage, so you can address what needs to be addressed. If the view makes you more passive, more resigned, numb to injustice or your own responsibilities, you've missed the point. You've traded the prison of anxiety for the prison of apathy. And that is not freedom. Consider the difference in practice. You have to have a difficult conversation with a family member. You feel a knot of anxiety about it. You use the view from above. You see the conversation as one event in the decades-long story of your relationship. You see your shared humanity. The anxiety softens. You feel calmer, more centered. Now you can enter that conversation with clarity and compassion, ready to listen and speak honestly. That's the tool working as intended. Now the bypass, the same difficult conversation looms. You use the view, but you use it to say to yourself, from a cosmic perspective, this argument is meaningless. In 100 years, it won't matter, so why bother having the conversation at all? You use the philosophical height to justify avoiding the emotional labor. The risk of conflict, you disengage. You tell yourself you're being wise and detached, but you've abandoned your duty to the relationship. You've used a tool for clarity as a tool for escape. This is the line we must watch. The Stoics weren't advocating indifference. They were cultivating a profound care for justice, for community, for doing the right thing. But a care untangled from the frantic personal distress that often paralyzes us. Marcus Aurelius didn't look down from the stars and then neglect his paperwork. He didn't ignore the pleas of his citizens. He used that perspective to carry the immense burden of empire without being crushed by it, so he could do the work more justly. So here is a vital question to ask yourself whenever you use this exercise. Is this perspective helping me engage with life more wisely, or is it helping me disengage from my responsibilities? Is it calming my panic so I can act, or is it numbing my concern so I can avoid? The answer tells you everything. If it's the latter, gently bring the focus back to what is up to you. The view isn't a place to hide, it's a vantage point, a place to see your post of duty with unwavering eyes. Your problems might shrink from a mountain to a molehill. But a molehill still requires a step. The goal is to take that step with a steady heart, not to pretend the path isn't there. There's this powerful daily ritual. You pair the view from above with an ancient Stoic bedtime routine, the evening review. Seneca described it in his letters. Each night he would call his mind to account. He'd ask what bad habit he had cured that day, what fault he had resisted. He wasn't looking to punish himself. He was looking to learn, to see his actions clearly without the heat of the moment. And that's where the two practices merge. You review the day not from within your own swirling emotions, but from that calm, elevated vantage point you've been building. You watch the day's events like a short film playing on a screen far below. From there, the self-judgment softens. It becomes observation. You see your reactions, your words, your choices as part of a larger flow. You can assess what was within your control and what wasn't. You can acknowledge a misstep without letting it define you, and you can recognize a moment of patience or kindness you might have missed in the rush. This combination turns a simple review into a tool for growth. It prepares you for tomorrow not with anxiety but with clarity. So tonight you might try this. Before sleep, find a quiet few minutes, close your eyes. First, take the view, gently rise above your day. See it as a series of scenes in the long story of your life. Then, from that detached and compassionate observer's point of view, replay the key moments, the difficult conversation, the small victory, the moment you felt irritated, the moment you felt grateful. Watch them play out without getting pulled back into the emotion. From this height, ask yourself Seneca's questions. What did I do well today? Where did I act according to my principles? And where did I let a passing feeling steer me off course? The answers come more gently from this distance. You're not the actor berating yourself in the dressing room. You're the director reviewing the footage to make tomorrow's performance more aligned with the story you want to tell. Doing this for just one night can change the quality of your reflection. You may find that what felt like a failure in the moment now looks like an understandable human reaction. Or that a quiet act of integrity you barely noticed now shines with a clearer light. This ritual doesn't erase the day's challenges. It frames them within the vast, forgiving context of a life being lived with intention. It lets you close the day not with regret but with understanding, and it lets you greet the morning not with dread but with a quiet readiness to begin again. Modern psychology has a term for this: cognitive diffusion. It comes from acceptance and commitment therapy, and the point is to create some space between you and your thoughts, you and your feelings. To see them as events, things that pass through the mind, not as absolute truths, not as definitions of who you are, which is exactly what we've been doing with the view from above. Both traditions are looking at the same human problem. We get tangled in the stories we tell ourselves. We believe our anxious thoughts are reality. We take a feeling of failure as a final verdict. That's the fusion. That's what gives thoughts their power. They stop being just thoughts. They become commands. They become identity. And cognitive diffusion offers ways to loosen that. Simple techniques. One of the most straightforward is to add a phrase before a difficult thought. Instead of saying I am a failure, you say I am having the thought that I am a failure. That small shift in language creates space. It moves the thought from a statement of fact to an object you can observe. You are no longer the failure. You are the person noticing a mental event, a particular one, and likely an unhelpful one. This is the modern, clinical version of pulling your perspective up. You're viewing the thought from a slight distance, seeing its shape, its texture, watching it come and go without getting lost inside the story. The Stoics were doing this centuries ago. When Epictetus said we are disturbed not by things but by our judgments about them, he was pointing to that same space. The event is one thing. Our fused, unquestioned thought about it is what causes the distress. The view from above is a tool to create that space on a grand scale. It's cognitive diffusion applied not to a single thought, but to an entire situation. Seen against the backdrop of the cosmos, both methods point to the same truth. We are not our thoughts, we are the awareness that can observe them. So here's a practical bridge. Between the ancient and the modern, think of a recurring negative thought, one that troubles you. It might be, I am not good enough, or I will never succeed at this. Or people don't really like me. For a moment, let that thought sit there in its usual form. Feel the weight it carries, then practice diffusion. Say it to yourself, but with a new prefix. Speak it internally, slowly. I notice I am having the thought that I am not good enough, or I am observing the feeling that I will never succeed. What changes? The thought doesn't necessarily vanish, but its authority diminishes. It becomes something you are experiencing, rather than something you unquestionably are. This is the micro-practice. The view from above is the macro-practice. One creates distance with words, the other creates distance with perspective. Together they form a toolkit. For mental freedom, this scientific parallel is more than an interesting fact. It's a validation. It means what the Stoics discovered through philosophy, modern psychology has confirmed through research. Creating space between you and your internal experience is a reliable path to psychological flexibility, to resilience. It means this exercise isn't just a philosophical metaphor. It's a trainable skill, one that changes how your brain relates to stress. When you look down from that cosmic height, you are engaging in the ultimate act of cognitive diffusion. You are fusing with the vast, silent observer within, instead of with the small, noisy story below. If you're stuck on something creative or a complicated problem, try changing your altitude. That's the practical use of this exercise for anyone who builds or solves things. It's not just for anxiety, it's a tool for seeing. When frustration builds, when the pieces won't fit, when every solution feels wrong, you're down in the weeds. Your view is cluttered, tangled in detail and emotion. The view from above lifts you out of that thicket. It gives you the one thing every creative person, every strategist needs most. A clean line of sight. From that higher perspective, patterns start to emerge. Connections become visible. The overarching structure of your work, which was lost while you were fighting with a single brushstroke or a stubborn line of code, it just snaps into focus. You stop seeing just problems, you start seeing systems. That's the Stoic ideal of the hegemonikon, the ruling faculty, the clear, rational mind. The Stoics believed this was our highest tool. A mind free from the distorting fog of passion. That's a mind that can perceive reality accurately. And accurate perception is the bedrock of great art and of effective solutions. Marcus Aurelius wrote about purifying his own guiding reason. To make it a sphere of fire, he said, radiant, unobstructed, seeing everything in its true light. For a creative person, that sphere of fire is the moment of inspiration. It doesn't come from grinding harder. It comes from stepping back and seeing the whole. Think about an artist hours into a painting getting frustrated. The colors feel wrong, the composition feels off. They're inches from the canvas, seeing only brushstrokes. Only mistakes. The solution isn't to paint over it again. It's to physically step back, leave the studio, look at the piece from across the room, or even imagine it hanging in a gallery. That physical distance creates mental clarity. The messy detail recedes, the intended whole reappears. They see what the painting wants to be, not just the struggle of making it. That's the view from above in action, a literal and mental repositioning to regain the vision. The same principle works for a software engineer debugging a complex system. Staring at a screen full of error logs, each line a maddening clue, the mind narrows to a single function, a single variable. From that ground-level view, the bug is a monster. But if they lift their perspective, visualize the entire application's architecture, see the data flowing like water through pipes, the bug often reveals itself as a simple obstruction. A single kink in one pipe. The pattern of the whole makes the flaw in the part obvious. So bring this to your own work. What's the one creative or professional challenge that has you stuck right now? A presentation that isn't cohering, a business plan that feels shaky, a story that won't find its ending. Take 10 minutes and practice the view. Mentally rise above the project. See it not as a collection of frustrating tasks, but as a single entity, an object you're bringing into the world. See its ideal final form from this distance. Then ask yourself this: what's the one overarching pattern or goal that gets lost in the daily details? Is it the core message of the presentation, the user experience your software is meant to deliver? The emotional truth your story is trying to tell? That pattern is your guiding star. Reconnecting with it from a higher vantage point can dissolve the clutter of frustration. It shows you which details actually serve the whole and which are just noise you can let go. The clarity you gain isn't mystical. It's the natural result of a mind that has cleared away the emotional weather and can finally see the landscape of its own work. From a certain distance, the things we take so seriously can seem almost ridiculous. It's not about making fun. It's just seeing the space between how important we feel and the larger comedy happening around us. When you step back, the intensity of what we care about takes on this absurd quality. That fight about the dishes, the panic when you can't find your phone, the deep worry over what to wear, from far away, these are just the rituals of a very busy, very earnest species. And seeing that can be a kind of self-compassion. It lets you laugh at the situation and at yourself without any edge. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius wrote about it. He talked about people straining over things that don't last. He saw the striving for fame, the posturing, as if any of it would matter. He saw the public square as a stage. And from his own philosophical distance, he could watch the performance without getting lost in his own part. This humor comes from clarity, not from cynicism. It's holding two things at once. Yes, this feels vitally important to me right now. And also, in the grand scheme, it has the fleeting urgency of a child building a sandcastle before the tide comes in. Both are true. The child's focus is completely real. The castle's fate is completely certain. The humor is in that gap, the poignant space between them. To make it concrete, picture a heated online argument, two people far apart typing furiously. From inside it, it's a clash of ideas, of identities. It feels huge. Now take the view from above, see the planet, see those two little points of light connected by signals. From that distance, the debate isn't about who's right. It's a brief flicker, a flurry of light pulses carrying strong opinions about something that, in the silence of space, has no weight at all. It's not that the topic doesn't matter. It's that the fury, the personal offense, the belief that this exchange is a war for civilization from that height, it looks like what it is, a very human and kind of absurd dance of symbols. That recognition takes the poison out. It's hard to stay truly outraged when you can also see the comedy in it. So think of something you took extremely seriously in the past. A romantic problem that felt like a tragedy, a job rejection that seemed to define you, a social moment you worried over for days. Now, from where you are now, look back. See what might be gently funny about it, not the pain you felt then, but the human comedy of the setup, the misunderstandings, the huge meaning you gave to a look or a word. The stories you told yourself that now seem like a script for a very small, very personal play. That gentle humor is a sign you've grown. It means you have the perspective you didn't have then. You've given yourself the view from above after the fact, and you can have that same view now with whatever you're worried about. It just asks one question. What about this someday might I look back on and find just a little bit funny? The Stoics didn't treat their philosophy as just a set of sayings. They called it an art of living. Unlike any art, it needs daily practice. Epictetus was clear about this. He said you have to practice, not just learn. If you had a heavy load to carry, you wouldn't just read about lifting. You'd train your body. The mind works the same way. The view from above is a mental muscle, and muscles grow through repetition, not through one perfect effort. The goal isn't some permanent cosmic state. It's weaving this wider perspective into your ordinary days. Start small, but start anchored. The easiest way to build a new habit is to attach it to an old one. Your brain already knows the routine. You're just adding one mindful stitch. Think of your morning coffee or tea, that first quiet sip for 30 seconds before you check your phone or plan the day. Just look out a window. Let your gaze soften and practice the first step. See your home from the outside. See your street. That's it. You don't have to go all the way to the stars. Just pull back one level. That tiny shift done consistently builds the neural pathway. It tells your mind this perspective is part of how you start the day. Another anchor is your commute, whether you're driving, walking, or on a train. When you feel that familiar transition leaving home, heading to work, use it as a cue. For 1 minute, let your mind rise above the route. See the vehicle you're in as one moving part in a vast, flowing system. See the landscape around you not as an obstacle, but as a living terrain you're passing through. This turns a potentially stressful time into training. It reclaims those lost minutes for your inner development. Then there's the evening, the moments before sleep when the mind reviews the day. This is where you can pair the view with that Stoic review. As you lie in bed in the dark, take 30 seconds, rise above your entire day, see it as a complete unit. A series of scenes now concluded. From that quiet height, just observe it without judgment. This practice does two things. It reinforces the perspective, and it gently prepares your nervous system for rest. It releases the day's tensions into a larger space. To support these micro-practices, use visual triggers. The Stoics didn't have smartphones, but we do. Set your phone's wallpaper to an image of Earth from space, the pale blue dot, or a view of the whole planet from the moon. Every time you unlock your phone, you get a split-second reminder. A nudge, a whisper that says, remember the stage. This isn't about guilt. It's about gentle redirection. A visual cue that can, in a flash, pull you out of a narrow story and into a bigger one. Marcus Aurelius understood the need for constant reminders. His personal notes, what we call meditations, were exactly that, a series of prompts he wrote to himself. To recall his principles, to recenter his mind, he was building his own library of cues, your visual trigger, your anchored 30-second practice. These are your modern versions of that text. They are the architecture you build around your intention, so your better self has a place to stand when the noise of the world gets loud. So here's a 1-week challenge. Choose one anchor activity, just one, your morning drink, your commute, the moment you brush your teeth at night. Commit to pairing it with a 30-second view from above for the next 7 days. Don't make it complicated. The moment you begin that activity, let your mind pull back one level. See the room from the ceiling. See your journey from the sky. See your day from a mountaintop, that's all. Notice if, by the end of the week, that small pause begins to feel automatic, a refuge, a part of your day you look forward to. That's the habit taking root, and from that root, a calmer, clearer way of seeing everything else can begin to grow. Some people just can't picture things in their mind. If you try to imagine a city from above or the earth from space, you might just get a blank screen. And if that's you, maybe you've felt a little frustrated. But that's okay. This whole exercise was never about how vivid your mental picture is. It's about a shift in your judgment. The Stoics were after a change in understanding, not a contest in imagination. Marcus Aurelius wrote about thinking of universal substance, universal time. He was making a conceptual shift, a recalibration of scale using ideas. The image was just a possible aid, not the goal. So if your mind's eye is more of a thoughtful listener than a vivid projector, you can still do this. You can think your way to the top. Instead of trying to see the Earth, think about its scale. You know the facts. The planet is about 25,000 miles around. It orbits a star, one of hundreds of billions in our galaxy, and our galaxy is one of maybe 2 trillion galaxies. You don't need to picture 2 trillion of anything. You just need to hold the concept, the feeling of that immensity. It's a feeling of expansion, of smallness within a vast system. You can get to that feeling through numbers. Through the simple awe of knowing, just as well as through seeing. For a practical approach, try this. Find a real photograph of Earth from space, the blue marble or the view from the moon. Look at it. Don't try to imagine being there. Just absorb the reality of the photograph. This isn't an artist's rendering. This is our home, taken by a camera from that actual distance. Let the fact of the image do the work. Your mind can grasp the reality of the photograph even if it can't make a perfect mental copy. The conceptual understanding that this is true and your life is happening on that sphere, that's what triggers the perspective shift. Another method is to use a simple phrase. When a problem feels overwhelming, you can say to yourself, in the grand scheme of things, or this is one moment in a long life. The phrase itself carries the conceptual weight. It invokes the framework without needing a visual. It's a verbal shortcut to the higher view. Your intellect understands what grand scheme means. And that understanding can create the same spacious feeling in your chest, the same quieting of the frantic mind. So if you think in words and concepts more than pictures, here's a prompt. Without trying to see anything, describe the feeling of a bigger perspective. What words capture it? Is it a sense of relief, a gentle humility, a connection to something ancient? A quieting of noise? Put the sensation into language. That act of naming the feeling makes it real for you. It becomes your personal pathway to the view. The Stoic aim was always a change in the soul's posture, not a change in the mind's eye. Whether you get there through a breathtaking vista or a quiet thought, the destination is the same. A place where you can see clearly and act wisely from a foundation of calm. That outward expansion needs something to balance it. After you pull back to see the cosmic scale, there's a movement in the opposite direction. A contraction back to the immediate, the view from within. Stoicism isn't just the big picture. It's knowing when to zoom all the way in to the task right in front of you. To this breath, to this single action, the philosophy holds both. The macro view shrinks anxiety about the future, regrets about the past. The micro focus lets you perform your present duty. Perform it with excellence. Marcus Aurelius gave himself a command for this. He wrote, "Concentrate every minute on doing what's in front of you. Do it with precise and genuine seriousness. Tenderly, willingly, with justice, and with a composure that comes from surrendering to the activity itself." He wasn't saying to forget the bigger picture. He was saying to let that bigger picture provide the calm, so he could pour his entire being into the specific, necessary work of this moment. That's the full cycle of attention. You rise above to see the landscape, to understand your place, to quiet the noise. Then you descend fully into your post. You become the landscape. Your awareness fills the space of the action. Think of a skilled surgeon. They have the expansive view, a deep knowledge of anatomy, of systemic connections, the history of the procedure, the long-term outcomes for the patient. That macro understanding is essential. It guides every decision, but in the moment of the incision, that surgeon contracts their awareness. The universe shrinks to the steady hand, the glint of the scalpel, the precise margin of tissue. The macro knowledge is now implicit, a silent foundation. The foreground is absolute, undivided presence, the view from within. That's where mastery lies. It's the total fusion of the person with the present task. Your own life has countless opportunities for this. After you use the view from above to gain perspective on a stressful week, you choose one specific task. Maybe it's writing a single email, and for the 10 minutes it takes, you practice the view from within. You let the wider concerns about your career, your reviews, your future, all recede into the background. Your world becomes the clarity of the sentence you're writing, the intention behind the words, the feeling of the keys under your fingers. You are not writing an email for your career. In that moment, you are simply writing with care, with presence. This balance stops the philosophical perspective from becoming dissociation. It grounds cosmic awareness in earthly action. It turns insight into impact. So consider your own day. After contemplating the larger patterns of your life, identify one ordinary activity where you'll practice this focused contraction. It could be washing the dishes, listening to a friend without drafting your reply, exercising and feeling nothing but the rhythm of your breath and the engagement of your muscles. The activity itself is almost irrelevant. The practice is in the quality of your attention, the complete surrender to the doing. In that surrender, you might find a different kind of peace. Not the peace of vast distance, but the peace of deep immersion. A reminder that your power, your virtue, your chance to live well is never somewhere else. It is always and only here, in this minute, waiting for you to look not up or out, but directly within the moment you have. When you're responsible for other people, being able to step back mentally, it's a kind of superpower. Leadership changes the stakes. Your decisions ripple out. They touch careers, projects, lives, and that weight can push your perspective down into the weeds. Into the personal friction, the urgent email, the loudest voice in the room, the view from above. It's a tool for strategic detachment, not to become cold or distant from your people, but to gain the clarity to serve them better, to see the whole system, the team, the mission, the long-term horizon, without your own ego or fears or immediate frustrations distorting the picture. The Stoic statesman lived this. Marcus Aurelius led an empire through war and plague. His personal writings show a man constantly pulling his mind back to a higher vantage point. He reminded himself to look down on the gatherings, the voyages from above, to see the whole drama of human life as a brief play. This wasn't an escape from duty. It was how he performed his duty without being consumed by it. He made decisions not for personal glory or to soothe his own anxiety, but for what he saw as the common good of Rome. Another figure, Cato the Younger. He was known for his composure, his integrity. In the chaos of the late Republic, people sought his judgment, because he was seen as a man ruled by principle, not passion. His detachment from the political games let him see the longer arc of consequences. This kind of detachment lets you separate signal from noise, office politics, personal loyalties, the heat of a bad quarterly report. That's the noise. It creates a thick emotional fog at ground level. From the balcony view, you see the structure of your organization. You see dynamics between departments not as personality clashes, but as flows of information, of incentive. You see a team conflict not as a personal betrayal, but as a symptom, a misaligned goal or a clogged channel of communication. your own stake in being right or being liked or avoiding short-term pain, it shrinks. Against the larger objective, the team's health, the mission's success. So, a practical exercise for any leader facing a tangled situation: find a quiet moment. Visualize the specific challenge, a team conflict, a strategic pivot, a difficult personnel choice. Now, in your mind, rise to a balcony overlooking the scene. See the physical space, see the people involved not as their titles or your history with them, but as players in a system. Observe the patterns, who's moving toward the goal. Who's stuck, where is the energy flowing, and where is it blocked? From this detached height, the emotional charge of the drama fades. What remains is the architecture of the problem. You can see the levers you actually control and the wider context that shapes everyone's actions. This perspective informs your toughest decisions. It asks you to weigh options not on which is easiest or most personally comfortable, but on which serves the long-term health of the system you steward. It's the difference between placating a loud complainer and addressing a flawed process that created the complaint, between choosing a flashy short-term win and investing in sustainable, quieter growth. Now bring this to your own leadership. Consider one current tough decision. It might involve a restructuring, a crucial hire, a frank conversation with a valued team member. Before you finalize your choice, pause. Ask yourself a reflective question. What would the most objective, wise observer from above advise? Not an observer who cares about your ego or your immediate peace, but one who cares only for the health of the team and the integrity of the mission. What would that detached, compassionate intelligence see as the right path forward? The answer that comes from that quiet, elevated space. It often cuts through the clutter of fear and attachment. It points toward the decision that, while maybe difficult to make today, builds a stronger foundation. For all the tomorrows you're responsible for, this mental exercise trains us for the Stoic ideal, which is to live in accordance with nature. That phrase can sound abstract, but it's the heart of everything. To the Stoics, nature wasn't just trees and rivers. It was the entire rational, interconnected cosmos, the universe itself, operating by a divine reason they called the Logos. Living in accordance with it meant two things. First, to understand your true place. You're a tiny, yet conscious and rational, part of this immense whole. And second, to align your will with its flow, to accept what happens not as random misfortune, but as a necessary piece of the universal pattern, and to act with virtue within that pattern, with wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. Zeno, the founder, defined the goal of life simply: to live in agreement with nature. Marcus Aurelius returned to this idea constantly. He wrote about examining everything that presents itself in life, methodically and truthfully, and to always regard it by considering what use it serves in the universe. He was practicing that alignment, looking at any event, even a difficult one, and asking, what is its place in the whole? What does it require of me as a rational part of this rational system? The view from above is the training ground for that exact skill. When you mentally rise to see the whole, you're literally practicing seeing in accordance with nature. You're adopting the perspective of the cosmos itself. From there, your personal challenge is no longer an isolated bolt of bad luck. It's a specific piece of the universal flow. And you, as a conscious fragment of that universe, are uniquely equipped to engage with it. The problem doesn't disappear. It's recontextualized. It becomes your assigned post within the grand order. Think of a river. From the bank, a large rock in the current looks like an obstacle. It creates turbulence, noise, resistance. That's the ground-level view of a problem. But from a satellite's view, you see the whole river's course. You see that the rock is part of the river's structure. It shapes the current, creates pools, influences the ecosystem. It's not an error. It's a feature of the river's nature. Your life and everything in it is part of a cosmic river. The difficulties are the rocks. Living in accordance with nature means learning to see yourself as both the water flowing around the rock, adapting, finding a new path, and as the conscious observer who can see the rock's necessary place in the wider journey of the river. So take a current personal challenge, not a minor irritation, but something that feels like a genuine hardship, a health issue, a period of financial strain, a painful rift in a relationship. Now apply the ultimate view. Don't just see it from a high place. See it as a specific expression of the universal logos. This doesn't mean a cosmic force caused your illness to teach you a lesson. It means that within the lawful, interconnected web of cause and effect that is nature, this event has occurred. And your role as a rational part of nature is to meet it, not with rage at the universe, but with the understanding that this, too, is a piece of the whole you are part of. Your virtue lies in how you choose to respond, with patience toward the illness, with prudence amid the financial strain, with courage and honesty in mending the relationship. Your virtuous action becomes your way of harmonizing with the whole. It's how you sing your note in the cosmic symphony, even if the music around you feels momentarily dissonant. This shifts the goal. It's not just stress reduction, it's profound participation. You're not just trying to feel better, you're practicing how to be a better citizen of the cosmos. Adopting this perspective more often changes how you interact with the world and your duties within it. It could transform obligation into purpose. A duty to your family or community stops being a burden and becomes your specific, essential contribution to the human part of the universal city. A creative block becomes not a personal failure, but a natural phase in the cycle of making, a quiet period the process itself requires. Even loss, when seen within nature's cycle of formation and dissolution, can be met with a deeper, more solemn grace. The goal is to move through the world not as a stranger fighting an alien environment, but as a native, a conscious, willing participant in the vast, beautiful, and rational system you call home. Find a comfortable position, sitting or lying down. Close your eyes if you want. Take a slow breath in through your nose. Feel your chest and belly fill. Then let it out slow through your mouth. Do that again, breathing in calm, breathing out whatever's tight. Now just notice the room you're in. Feel the space around you. And let the walls of the room, in your mind, let them fade. See the building you're in from outside, its shape on the street. Pull your view up higher. See your neighborhood from above, the roofs and roads like a map. Keep rising. See your whole town or city, the land it sits in. See the outline of your country, then the continent. Now see the whole planet, that blue and white sphere in the deep black. Pause there. From up here, see that thin glowing layer, the atmosphere, the only thing between life and the void. Like Marcus Aurelius said, think of the universal substance as if from a cliff. See all the dramas down on that sphere. All of them, yours included, part of one flowing whole. Now bring your specific worry to mind. Place it gently against the backdrop of this planet, this cosmos. See its size from here. Notice its edges. See it not as the center of everything, but as one event. In one place, at one point in a vast timeline, a single thread in a huge tapestry. Start to bring your awareness back, but keep this wider view. Come back to the continent, to your country. See your city, your neighborhood. Settle back into your building, your room. Feel the weight of your body in the chair or on the floor. Take one more deep, gentle breath. And as you come back, holding this quieter perspective, ask yourself one gentle question. From this calmer place, what single action feels most right? What feels most proportionate for you to take next? We've come a long way from that feeling of being crushed by a problem, from learning to step back and see its actual size. The practice is the journey itself. You've got a tool now from ancient Stoic thinking for handling the weight of modern life. The mechanism is simple but deep. It's that deliberate shift in where you're looking from. Change your vantage point and you change what you see. You go from being inside the storm, that claustrophobic view, to observing the storm's shape and path from above. It doesn't erase the event, it shows you its proportion. It frames your challenge against the larger background of your life, of history, of the cosmos. That recalibration is where your power is. The benefits are tangible. You feel that frantic, chest-tightening anxiety lessen, replaced by something calmer, more observant. You notice a deeper gratitude for the simple, stable parts of your existence. Your thinking gets clearer, cutting through the emotional fog that usually clouds judgment. And from that clarity, better decisions come forward, decisions that match your values, not your fears. This isn't a one-time insight, it's a trainable skill. A mental muscle. The more you practice lifting your perspective, even for 10 seconds in a stressful moment, the stronger that lift becomes, more automatic. It becomes your default way of meeting difficulty. Marcus Aurelius, in his private writings, found a peace in this. He wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." That's the essence of living in accordance with the whole, a serene acceptance of your place in the vast system, alongside a full-hearted engagement with your immediate duties. The view from above gives you that acceptance. It lets you see fate's bindings not as chains, but as the coordinates of your particular post in the universal city. And from that acceptance, love and action can flow more freely. So the invitation is here. Take this exercise and make it your own. Try it today with whatever feels heaviest. Then try it tomorrow. Notice the subtle shift inside, and if you feel moved to, share what you find in the comments. We can build a community of practice, sharing not just struggles, but the quiet victories of perspective. If this tool was valuable, consider subscribing. There are more Stoic practices like this, each one a key to living with more calm, courage, and clarity. The view is always here, available. All you have to do is look up.